When considering serial killers and mass murderers, the United States of America mostly comes to mind due to the publicity surrounding a lot of the more recent cases. However, the past was a very different world. Most people are aware that Australia was colonised by convicts and criminals from England in the late 1700s and early 1800s, and due to the harsh, hostile environment, many criminals could get away with their crimes for much longer than in other countries. One of these criminals is the subject of tonight's horrific history. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon for a continual supply of our dark past. Now sit back, hit the lights, and let's begin. Daniel Morgan was thought to have been born Jack Fuller, born in Appin, New South Wales on April 30th, 1830. Thought to have been the illegitimate son of Mary the Gypsy Owen and George Fuller, as records for that time are lacking, with some of those records showing him as Moran and others as Owen, and none believing Morgan was his name at all. Adopted by a man simply known as Jack the Welshman, Morgan attended the Catholic school in Campbelltown, New South Wales. There is no record of his grades that I could find. Morgan left the company of Jack in 1847 and began work at the station along the Murrumbidgee River as a stockman for 7 years. Morgan was a suspect of stock theft in the late 1840s, but nothing was ever proven. His true criminal career began in 1854. June 10, 1854, Morgan, calling himself John Smith at the time, was sentenced to 12 years hard labour for highway robbery in Castlemaine, Victoria. This time was served at Pentridge Prison, although some records show him aboard the prison ship Success. Serving only 6 years of his sentence, Morgan was released in June of 1860 on a ticket of leave for good behaviour, which is like being out on parole, but not quite. While out on his ticket of leave, Morgan failed to report to police in the Ovens district. Now calling himself Down the River Jack, Morgan found work as a stockman and in August of 1860 stole a prized horse belonging to the Evans family, holders of the Whitfield Run in the upper King River Valley. Evan Evans and Edmund Bond tracked Morgan to his camp and found the wounded Morgan, who managed to escape them into the eastern Riverina and western slopes of New South Wales. Morgan set up a base in this area, as it provided the convenience of being close to the northern border of Victoria, and he could easily sell off any stock that he stole. For 3 years he faded into obscurity. There was a spat of armed robberies, with witnesses identifying Morgan, but nothing concrete came of these reports. It was during this time that he came up with the alias of Dan Morgan, amid a variety of other aliases. August 22nd of 1863 sees Morgan involved in a major shootout with police, with Morgan shooting Henry Bayliss, a police magistrate, as well as his own accomplice, a man by the name of German Bill, in order to escape. Mr. Bayliss survived his wounds, and a reward of £200, approximately $30,000 Australian in today's money, was placed for Morgan, dead or alive. June 19th, 1864, at Round Hill Station, saw Morgan positively identified as a murderer, with the killing of John McLean, the overseer of the station. 5 days later, he shot and killed Sergeant David Manatee, causing his reward to escalate to £1,000, approximately $150,000 Australian today. In September of 1864, police were searching for Morgan when he fired at them, killing Sergeant Thomas Smith in the process. Morgan often targeted people in authority, often delighting in humiliating them in the process. He would insist that workers be fed and given drink to those he deemed to be hard masters. A station owner, Thomas Gibson, was forced to write checks for his employees. Morgan was also known for his wild mood swings, From treating his captives with the utmost respect one minute to threats of violence and murder the next, causing him to be known as Mad Dan. Although he occasionally had accomplices, Morgan often worked alone, as he had a very intimidating appearance. In the mere 3 months between January and March of 1865, Morgan was accused of 6 major robberies and an attempted murder. In March of that year, the New South Wales government introduced the Felons Apprehension Act, making Morgan an outlaw. This made him cross the Murray River into Victoria to settle an old score with the holders of Whitfield Run, Evan Evans and Edmund Bond. Evans not being present, Morgan headed back north and held up anyone he could along Sydney Road between Benalla and Glenrowan. The 8th of April sees Morgan arrive at the McPherson homestead, Pichelba, just north of Wangaratta. Morgan had no idea that the homestead's owner, George Rutherford, lived less than 500 metres away. McPherson's nurse, Alice Keenan, managed to get news to Rutherford, who rounded up his workers, arming 5 of them and sending them to Pichelba. There, they were reinforced by police and armed vigilantes. As was common for most bushrangers, Morgan's death was to be a violent one, as on the morning of the 9th of April, as he approached the stockyard off Pichelba Homestead, he was shot from behind by John Wendland. Morgan died at 1:45 p.m. on the 9th of April, 1865. Locks of his hair were removed and his body publicly displayed at Wangaratta. His beard was flayed from his face as a trophy. His head removed and sent to the University of Melbourne for study, and on the 14th of April, Morgan was buried in Wangaratta Cemetery. Daniel Morgan went down in infamy, like most bushrangers, as a friend of the people. Having many supporters among the stockmen in the region, although he shot 2 men he thought were police informants, he was known as Dan Mad Dog Morgan, the traveller's friend. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to leave a like and a share if you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on most social media and chat with me over at the Opinionated Outcast Discord server. If you really enjoy what I do, consider supporting me on Patreon from as little as $2 a month, where there are rewards, sneak peeks, and other Patreon-only exclusives. All links are in the description below. Thank you, and remember, it's always scarier when it's real. Good night.